What's up, guys? This is Dino here, and today I have a very special guest with me. This is someone that I have been wanting to talk to ever since I started this podcast. He was always on the short list. He is one of my favorite What If YouTubers, and I am sure that everyone listening this knows him not only from making Dragon Ball What Ifs but also Naruto What Ifs. And as of recently, he made one of the most amazing stories alongside another guest of the show, that is Ronin Charizard, which was What If Ash was sponsored by Giovanni. It's the legend himself, plus Ultraman. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you and everybody else watching? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. It's definitely an honor for me to have you on. So, let me just start off by asking that are there any other projects that you are working on? Something like a sneak peek that you have for us?
Any projects I'm working on and a sneak peek I can have for you? Sure, I could probably send you maybe a few art from maybe some upcoming things I have. I know the next part of the What If Jiraiya Adopted Naruto series is definitely the thing I want to have out the next my next upload for sure. And I can probably just send you some things to flash on screen if you want to, for sure.
Oh yeah, that would be great. And yeah, speaking of that, that's a perfect segue for me because, like I said this to you off screen, right? Your What If Jiraiya adopted Naruto and What If Piccolo turned good early on. Those two are my favorite What Ifs, like of any genre, uh, regardless of the anime. And I just wanted to ask you that you are really good at portraying the father-son relationship or the mentor-student relationship. So, is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I have a really strong connection with not just my own father, but just family in general. I used to be a super big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I mean, I still am. And the whole joke about that is the meme of we family, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So storytelling like that is something I love. The found family trope, the idea of characters kind of realizing and finding strength in familial bonds and or forming their own that aren't blood related, that aren't tied to tradition. That's something that just has always resonated with me really, really well. um and with characters like Jiraiya, with like Piccolo, they're characters who I think have such strong potential to use in storylines like that, as well as just being characters who they don't really get as much as they deserve. Jiraiya is a perfect example of this. When he's first introduced, he is really flanderized into just being, pervy sage. That's kind of just all he is. And then later, I can tell Kishimoto kind of wanted to backtrack on that characterization a lot because when you get into more of the later stages of Naruto, the Shippuden era, that aspect of Jiraiya is much more toned down. You actually start to see that his crush, his love for Tsunade is what's played up. The idea that he was
Mhm.
so, enamored with her that his entire life he'd been pining for her, to where one of the big tragedies before his death in the series is that Tsunade seemed like she was finally open to maybe giving them a shot. Um, but yeah, I think that father son slash mentor and mentee relationships come naturally to me because I have had a lot of good mentors. I've had a lot of good father figures in my life, and through them, I don't think I'd be anywhere near the man I am today. And those are just people I try to live up to the example of.
That's a really beautifully put answer. And regarding the Jiraiya characterization, I completely agree with that because in the OG Naruto, there were definitely parts of him training Naruto for the exams and fetching him after Sasuke left the village and confronting him after Sasuke left the village. So those were good parts, but I really think that in the Shippuden era, they picked up the relationship and just got the audience and the viewers invested into it more than they did in the OG scene. So that's something that I definitely agree on. Speaking about your other stories, one of them is something that a lot of the listeners here wanted to know about, and that was your collab with Ronin Charizard. Can you give us a little insight on how that came to be?
It was last year, and I'll be honest about this. The last year was kind of rough for me as a creator on YouTube. I think I released a total of 9 or 10 videos between both the
Yeah.
channels I run. And I think that's because partly my workload in college was getting a little higher than it usually was, as well as just, COVID and stuff like that. And also, I'm now in my senior year of college, and some of the friends I've had for the 4 years I've been here so far, they're actually getting to graduate. I'm going to be here for a fifth year. So I've been trying to take a lot more time to kind of spend with them and just make sure, these bonds I've made with them over the last 4 years don't start to kind of flow apart, because these are people I view as brothers and real siblings to me, because we've been together and we've been through a lot of crazy and wacky situations. That stuff kind of bonds you.
Yeah,
So at some point I ended up finding one of Ronin's videos, and I thought this was really cool because I think I had actually just typed in Pokemon what ifs just to see if anybody had started doing them. I remember when I first started doing what ifs, and I did my first one, which is what if Goku joined Raditz. I think I did
yeah,
look up if anybody had done a Pokemon What If before, because it had always seemed like such a series, ripe for content like that. And I had
mm,
seen a few other attempts at doing Pokemon What Ifs, and then I had seen one of Ronin's Ash winning the Kanto League videos. I just became really enthralled because I could tell he had a really good understanding of the source material. He had a really good understanding of the feel of the anime and how there is a really fine line that what if makers have to kind of walk, where at the end of the day we are writing fan fiction. That is something that's pretty unavoidable to just kind of admit.
yeah,
The way I try to explain what I do when people ask, hey, what do you do on YouTube, is that it's high effort, high value fan fiction. It is something that I study the source material extensively to kind of understand it. It's something that I'll study the authors and the creators behind it to understand their vision, so that when I do these what ifs, they are, understandable and logical to those creators. And that was something that I really clearly saw Ronin doing as well. So even though he was a small creator, even though he was somebody who was, still coming up at the time, still is coming up, still is getting better. I really wanted to work with him because I felt this is somebody who needs, a boost. This is somebody who needs not necessarily a leg up, but if I could help, if I could, rise the tide around his boat, that was something I wanted to do for sure if I had the opportunity to.
and that was a really good gesture from you because I think that even though he reached again, like not taking anything away from him because he's the man when you speak about Pokemon What Ifs, right? But I really think that when that he gained a lot of influx because of the collab with someone like you because you have been an established player in not only the anime market but also like the What If market in general. So I really think that definitely helped. And on the plus side, we got a really good story that I haven't watched. I will admit I have only watched the first episode. I'm planning to binge through it once a lot of episodes get released because that's something that I started to do ever since I started making content. Uh,
Okay, awesome.
and yeah, and I believe that you said you have two channels. So do you mind telling us a little bit about your other channel?
So the other channel I run is called Beyond Plus Ultraman. This was originally conceived as there's a content creator I really loved called Cosmonaut Variety Hour. And he named his channel that way, the Variety Hour, because he literally used it to just talk about whatever he wants to talk about that strikes his fancy that day. And Beyond Plus Ultraman was originally meant to be that. I've also done a series called the Plus Ultra Podcast. It's not necessarily done yet, and probably won't be done. It's probably something I'll probably continue to do, and I just feel like doing so. But I remember it was after I had wrecked my car, so I was kind of banged up, and also didn't have any time to write anything. And there is a fan fiction by an author who definitely inspired me as a creator. His name is Kenchi618, and he wrote a story called Better
Mm,
Left Unsaid. And I decided, okay, well, what if I, take this opportunity to kind of shout him out and just show people that fan fiction? So I did a reading of this first chapter, and I remembered a lot of people just kind of went wild for it. And that was great because I love this creator. This is a story I had read bits of. It's been ongoing for a very long time now, actually. I think it had a chapter released recently. So the creator is still coming back to it. And I had read the first chapter of that, and a lot of people really wanted me to keep going. So I decided, okay, I've already been thinking about starting a new channel. What if I continue reading it on that channel? Because I didn't really want those uploads to kind of coincide with my what ifs, because I feel like that would be a bit too confusing for some of my viewers. And now the Beyond Plus Ultraman channel has sadly become kind of a dedicated, fan fiction reading channel. I will admit that is not the direction I'll continue to take it in very much longer, simply because, and I guess I'll kind of expound on this. There are more people doing the whole idea of fan fiction readings now, and I thought that was really cool at first. And then I kind of started to notice this really sad trend where, with that fan fiction reading, I was also using that as an opportunity to work on my voice acting skills. That's something else that YouTube's kind of opened up to me, is that I have the ability to kind of, channel my voice into different characters and actions. My Zabuza series is one that I've gotten kind of popular for this about, because I can do a decent Steve Blum impersonation for some things. Like I can do a pretty good Orochimaru and, things like that. So what I've been noticing is a lot of people are just taking these long fan fictions that, some author has put in a lot of work into, and instead of sitting down and reading it and trying to, put emotion and voice acting into it, they're putting it into text to speech and just kind of posting that as a chapter, as if you've truly done any real work there. And I think that's really, really gross. When it comes down to it, I think that's not very, very right. Just in a moral sense.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that's basically plagiarism, and you're not getting paid for it.
And there's a bit of a hypocritical sense to this, because those original fan fiction readings, those are monetized videos, and I did profit off of those, and I can recognize that that's a point that I could take damage off of, or I could be pointed out. But I don't know. I think the fact that I would do the best I could to elevate the experience of just, you could go out and read those stories yourselves, but when you came to the second channel and you'd sit down to watch one of those, I would hope that you would be enthralled. I would hope that you would see, like, okay, I can tell that, this character is speaking, because when he speaks for them, his voice changes. Or I can tell that, they're fighting in this scene because I can hear, sound effects and the music is changing and stuff like that. So I would try to put so much effort into it that it would almost be a adaptation, not just a straight, quid pro quo copy and paste of the original stuff. Because at that point, you might as well just go grab the original fanfiction yourself and just put it in a text to speech.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, that you try to make it some sort of an audiobook version, right?
Pretty much, yeah. An audiobook would be like the best example I could give. And that's what the second channel, Beyond Plus Ultraman, has kind of become. I think 2022 is going to definitely be the year I take that back and start to do more with that channel. I know one thing I really want to do with that channel is review manga that people just don't really talk about. Two I want to talk about, I know, are the Vagabond series. I have a really close friend of mine who I met through YouTube, who actually, as a birthday gift, he sent me the first 2 volumes of the story, and I forever loved him for that. Another I've been wanting to do is a really old shonen that it wasn't a Jump shonen, but it was a shonen manga. It was called Ushio and Tora. And it was really, really, I think it had a new anime adaptation made a few years back that is on Crunchyroll and a few other streaming platforms, I believe, if you want to go check that out. But it's really, really cool, and not a lot of people talk about it. So I wanted to start kind of doing that, because another creator I really look up to is Totally Not Mark, who is, facing a lot of issues right now. We're all kind of rallying behind him. But the way he analyzes manga and kind of brings a fresh perspective to whatever he's talking about, that's something I really respect, because he's now reviewing Naruto. And there are so many reviews of the entire Naruto series on YouTube that you could just copy and paste those too. But the fact that he'll sit there, he'll read the material, and he'll honestly chew on it enough to come up with his own original and fascinating thoughts, that's something important to me. That's something special to me. That's content that I really value. And that's content that I think the world would be, worse for. As much as that is an exaggeration, having something that comes out and that you can actually kind of have stimulate you, that's important. So that's really what I want that second channel to become, is my variety hour, my chance to kind of just talk about things that I like and, can kind of express myself because now, almost 4 years into YouTube with almost 60,000 subscribers, I obviously have some form of opinion or some form of what I have to say that is interesting to people. So I don't want to squander that.
Yeah, and I think that making a separate channel was definitely a good idea on your part because I'm not sure you have heard of this channel. It's called Anime Sage. Have you heard of his? Have you heard
Yeah,
of his channel?
Anime State's been around for a good long while, I believe,
Yeah,
almost as
yeah.
long as me, if
So
not longer, I believe.
yeah, and I think that we both agree that he produces really good content. But the thing is that his content, if there is any criticism that I could give upon him, it would be that his content are really his upload schedule is really inconsistent. Like you see, there is like one what if video followed by a fanfic read, followed by a different what if video and another different fanfic read. And I think that even though the fan fiction reading and what if are closely related, there's just a separate market for those things because in what if like it's your own imagination plus whatever efforts that you put in. But in fanfic reading, you are basically somehow promoting the original writer, but helping your channel out at the same time.
Yeah, that's dealing with the certain markets that you deal with and kind of finding your niche on YouTube. That is a really, really tough challenge for a lot of creators to deal with. Um, and a few tips I can give you, or just people listening. If you decide you want to start to branch out your content in ways that you think this might be way too different, I'll probably be alienating a lot of my audience. It usually is a good idea to just start a new channel. And that kind of is something a lot of people have an aversion to because man, I've been grinding on this one for so long, and I've built a community. I can talk to people. There are commenters that I'll see. Oh, they commented again, and they have so many hearted comments and stuff like that. That really matters to a lot of creators. That it matters to me, because it is an achievement. It is something special that when you begin to get your footing and you build your niche and you build your community and you build people who want to see your content. But at the same time, if you begin to kind of stack too much onto one channel, you will begin to kind of cut your viewers into a pie chart regardless. You'll have somebody watching you for one thing and somebody watching you for another. This is something I kind of have to deal with regardless because I do already cover so many different series on my channel. The advantage other what if content creators like Salad Satan, Carthus Dojo, Smugstick have, they really are focusing on only one series. I wish I had the tenacity to kind of stick to that and do that, but my squirrel brain just won't let me. At some point, if I'm writing a Naruto series, by the 500th time I've written the word Naruto, I'm probably going to want to do something different for a little bit.
Yeah,
And that's just kind of how my brain works. I'll return to it at some point for sure. I don't really like to leave things unfinished, but that's just the way I've always been. Um, but yeah, it's a challenge, and everyone has to kind of find their own way around it. Some people are going to be able to just do whatever they want to on their channel, like Cosmot Variety Hour, because he has such a cool personality. His editing is funny. He himself is funny. So you'll go to the content for him, not necessarily what he's talking about. I see comments all the time on people's content where they'll say, "Oh, I had no knowledge or interest in this subject, but the way you approached it, the way you spoke about it, that was what kept me here." So it's definitely doable. It's definitely something you can do, and a lot of it is trial and error. Do not be afraid to fail with YouTube. In fact, it is very necessary to mess up with something and kind of learn from it.
yeah, I completely agree with that because I will tell you my own experience if you want to hear it. First of all, I started my channel, and the first series, What If series that I started was What If Paul challenged the Battle Frontier, and What If the history of Professor Oak. On paper, this both of these stories seem pretty interesting, right? But I'm telling you, man, the amount of views that I have gotten from this series, like 10, 15, 20, they were so less, and I was really investing a lot of my creative concepts into the story. So it kind of hurt that I was not pulling in so much views, but then I tried my hand on something that has been done before, like what if Ash woke up on time. So I just looked at all the other content creators that made a similar topic. Enter the Union made it with Ash picking Squirtle. I think Dvox, a YouTuber, he made it with Ash picking Bulbasaur. There were other YouTubers I can't remember off the top of my head. One of Vegito had him picking Charmander. I thought that I'm not like literally copying it, but let me just add to that and just give him an EV, and it would just complete a whole series of Ash having all the generic Kanto starters, and that was the one that blew my channel up. Like it went from 15 subscriber to 100 just in a day. So yeah, I completely agree with you that you shouldn't be afraid of switching up your content and taking risks and not being afraid to fail.
Yeah. The other thing about stuff like that is when you get to do something another creator has done and it has proven to be popular, you also get the advantage of now when that original video is searched up, yours will technically be in the search results as well.
Yeah,
So that's why I also really encourage what ifers to try and continue to innovate. Don't box yourself in. Just because you've seen somebody else do this and it was popular for them doesn't mean you always have to do that. My first what if was something someone had already done. It was a what if that Smugstick had done. I even remember there
mm,
was a platform. I'm not even sure if it's still. I think it is still around. It's called Amino, and I was on there and I saw Smugstick is on here, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually perfect. I'm actually working on this right now. But let me reach out and see if I can just like ask his opinion on me doing this. And I did, and he was fine with it, so I did it. And that first video didn't blow up for me, sadly. And I don't think it's anything wrong with the concept. I think because for him it didn't really blow up too especially I don't think. I think what it was that at that point, because it was Dragon Ball What If, remember,
mm.
something new had to come out, something innovative, something that changes the game. So I don't think excuse me. So the first Dragon Ball What If I had done that got any real amount of traction, any real, serious, wow, this is great, people are flocking to this, I'm blowing up, was the story, what if Goku landed on planet Namek? Um, and the reason
Yeah,
that's
I remember
so
that.
kind of innovative, I think, is because at that point, I don't think anybody had done a what if Goku landed on planet X format story. It was
Mm.
mostly what if Goku went Super Saiyan early? What if Raditz had turned good? What if Vegeta had stayed evil? It was
What
ideas
if
like that. It
so
wasn't,
characters
yeah,
survived?
yeah, it wasn't really changing the circumstances that lead to the character we know and love or know and are supposed to love. It was stuff that kind of led to a difference in that character when they are already kind of developed. It's something where Goku's still on Earth, but he's, changed a little bit because he had Super Saiyan early or something like that. So that was an
Yeah,
innovation. And that innovation really couldn't have come without me failing first in trying to do something that someone had already done. So it goes both ways. Even if you end up having to rely on, okay, well, I want to get my foot in the door, so I'm just going to try. What if Ash woke up on time? Because I know it's a concept that I have an interest in doing. I have a new perspective I can give on it, so it's not going to be the same story anyway. That'll
yeah,
work too. It's all about finding your own way. There is no surefire. Take this road, do A here, do B here. Step by step Lego menu or instruction because that's just not how this works. YouTube is such an unorthodox form of media because the algorithm is changing so much because there is so much that we have to deal with as creators that everyone's journey is going to be really really different. And that's actually really cool to me.
yeah. Definitely just the feeling of everything being so unpredictable is something that's risky but also fun at the same time. And speaking of the other markets, Dragon Ball, Naruto, how long do you see the Pokemon What If channel taking to reach the same level as let's just say the Dragon Ball What Ifs, because they are like super popular. You see YouTubers like Masako X, they basically make a living out of this stuff, right? I it was, I think, his What If Reddit's done good. It branched out to a franchise of its own. There are of course the TFS crew and all that, but still, like, the Dragon Ball What If market is just at a different level right now, at least in my opinion. So how long do you think it will take for the Pokemon What If market to reach that level or something close to it?
Um, I think it really depends on what you view as, the level, or what kind of criteria you're basing the the measurement off of. In terms of views, in terms of the amount of people watching the content, I don't think it would take long at all. Something you have to remember is that Pokemon is the largest media franchise on Earth. Period. Quid pro quo.
Mm,
That is just how it goes. Dragon Ball is close, maybe, but it's not there. It's not the largest media franchise on Earth. The other
yeah,
thing about Dragon Ball is that its story is still going on, just like Pokemon's story, if you want to call it a story, is still continuing. You're still going to continue to get new games. There'll be new mons, there'll be new forms, there'll be something new for the Pokemon community as a whole, not just as what ifers to talk about. Whereas with
yeah,
Dragon Ball, we go through dry spouts with our content. You're about to see really, really soon that as soon as we get closer to the release of Superhero, there'll be even more, videos just based around that. Just like in 2018 when Broly came out, that was pretty much the whole of what Dragon Ball content was about. And that's kind of because the content well for us, if you're not talking about the manga, is really, really dry. So in that instance, Pokemon What Ifs, or just Pokemon content in general, has already kind of caught up to and surpassed the Dragon Ball. You got to remember,
yeah,
before 2015, when Battle of Gods came out, people weren't really as interested in Dragon Ball. I mean, there were still fans. There were still people
mm,
rewatching the series. Toonami would show reruns and stuff like
yeah.
that. But
Because I don't think many people were invested in GT, and I think Super coming back was a huge part in.
yeah, Battle of Gods and a few games seemed, or even Dragon Ball Abridged, Team Four Star, a project that Moscow X himself was a part of. That stuff revitalized in no uncertain terms the 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 presence of Dragon Ball in the cultural zeitgeist. Dragon Ball was always culturally relevant. It's probably always going to be culturally relevant, but it was not as culturally relevant as, say, My Hero Academia, which it had its manga starting at that point and its anime was about to come out, and that was going to hit the world really, really hard and become this big media franchise. It's not Demon Slayer, which has nearly outsold One Piece. It's not One Piece, which is still going on,
Yeah,
1,000 chapters strong, and still has such a strong following to where its anime has completely updated its style, and they're being a lot nicer on the animators to where the product we're getting from that anime adaptation is so good now. Dragon Ball wasn't at that level before 2015, just because it was big in the 90s, it was big in the 2000s, but going into the 2010s, we didn't really have that. So I mean, it really depends on the criteria you're looking. In terms of, we're just talking about Pokemon What Ifs and when they'll kind of reach the same level as Naruto or Dragon Ball What Ifs and stuff like that. This is kind of a doomer take, but it probably won't take long. And that's because as more of you guys continue to make, dedicated Pokemon What If content and that stuff gets more popular, just the way anything works, not just YouTube, not just content creation, just anything. There are going to be people who come in and they also enter the arena and they try and give their own takes at it. Some will be better than others. That's just the way the world works. Some won't be very
yeah,
good. Some will be really, really great. I'll tell you, there are probably a million Dragon Ball What Ifs and Naruto What Ifs on YouTube as of right now. This would sound very pretentious. I think maybe less than 10% of them should be considered good. The other would probably be considered noise. And that's just
uh,
because what had happened was, to use that terminology, at some point we just kind of started going all in. It was any idea you could figure out whether it was good or not, you were going to throw it on, and that would just be how you rolled. So I mean, it's not going to take long at all. I think the challenge the Pokemon What If community will have is, do you support quality over quantity? Or in case that you don't, in case you end up going like, yeah, okay, quantity is always going to, be the one that gets better support, because there's always going to be somebody watching. There's always going to be somebody consume more content. And Ronin Charizard is going to have a new video out every day. Trainer Diana is going to have a new video. Pickled Dill is going to have a new video out every day. So I mean, it's a question of how do you measure this? And I think the best way to measure it would just be look at the story quality. When you feel that you have a Pokemon What If that to you is at the same level as, Moscow's What If Raditz Turned Good, or whatever your favorite Salad Saiyan or Smugstick video is, then you'll probably be at the same level. This stuff is really subjective,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that the presence of 6 Pokemon or more in an trainer's party gives just like Pokemons are characters in themselves, right? If you really put time in investing a character development of a Pokemon in it, that also adds to the story, which is something that you don't get to do in Dragon Ball or Naruto. So I
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
agree with the qualitative aspect of things. And before I let you go, I just have a couple of more questions.
Sure.
Uh, you just went in a little brief on tips to upcoming content creators. Are there any like solid tips you'd give to someone who is just like starting from scratch, has no experience in YouTube, whatever, does not possesses any a high tech or cutting edge audio quality, and just like starting off with low resources pack?
The most basic tips I could give to any YouTuber would be start off and do not fall for the trap of I need to upload every day, every single day, as much as I can. Do not do that. That is the easiest way to burn yourself out that has ever existed. Another one would be find a little notebook that you can carry around, and that when you get an idea that you think, hey, that'd be interesting to talk about for 15, 20 minutes, you write it down. Because when you have that, you should never have the issue of, well, I have free time, I have time to edit, I have time to write, I just don't have an idea to do it for. You should never have that issue. As a creator, you should always have some thought going through your head that either leads to a new thought that is, oh, wow, that's going to be great, or it leads to a series of thoughts that leads you to some kind of situation that after it, you find yourself inspired to do that. Use the tags on YouTube. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you tag them correctly. Make sure you're not tagging them. Like if you're making a Pokemon, don't go around tagging it with Naruto and all that stuff. But if you're making a Pokemon What If, you tag it Pokemon What If. That means when people search up Pokemon What If, your video will be in the searches. Tag it with the characters you're going to have involved. Tag with the key terms of the search. Because a lot of people end up squandering those tags, and that's like a very vital feature to how people find you on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Create playlists just for the sake of it. That increases your watch time. When you get your watch time to increase, you get your, more of the tools that other creators have, your community tab, all that kind of good stuff. What else? Oh, you were talking about those who don't have like great audio equipment and stuff like that at first. The
Yeah,
first
me
thing you
included.
invest in needs to be your audio. I cannot stress this enough. Because the majority of people watching YouTube videos are not visually looking at the video. That's just how it is. A lot of people who are going to be watching this podcast are going to be playing games. They're going to be driving. They might be in the bathroom taking a shower. People just aren't always looking at the screen. So you can put in a ton of visual editing work, and it can all be for absolutely nothing because somebody might not be watching the screen. So above all else, your voice needs to come out clear, crisp, and as good as you can get it. And there are ways to, even if you don't have a lot of money to get the best mic, the best equipment, you can still kind of, help yourself. If you just have to record in a closet. In my freshman year of college, I didn't have much space and I had to get recording done. So what would happen is I'd have to work out a time with my roommate where they wouldn't be in the room. And then I would take a blanket, like a really heavy, hot blanket, and I would get under that blanket with my mic and I would record. And it wasn't great audio because it was a really cheap microphone at the time. But if I didn't do that, if I didn't put myself under that blanket, you would have the sound and the echo from the entire room. There's stuff you can do. Build an isolation chamber. Isolation chambers are just shoe boxes with, egg crate shell or maybe some acoustic sound paneling, maybe just something soft, like clothing in there. This stuff will absorb the echo from the room. They'll absorb the vibrations from your voice. That stuff will help to improve your audio quality little by little. Learn to enunciate, learn to pronounce your words really clearly so that the mic doesn't have to do so much work to kind of compensate for that stuff. So you're not, right up against the mic and trying to make sure everyone hears you like that. You should be able to lean back and relax and just kind of project your voice out. And that way the mic will pick it up very, very calmly. There won't be any peaks in the audio and stuff like that. And there are just things you can do to improve your audio. All types of things. You can build your own foam protector for the mic. I know you can go and buy what it's called, like elephant foam balls. And I have one of these, and I cut a hole in it, and I just stuck my mic head in it. And that's because I am still using the Blue Yeti microphone that I bought after I was first monetized on YouTube. It was about $125 or so, I want to say. And it's a great mic. The only issue with it is it's way too strong for my voice. It's way too strong to be as close to it as I am. Because it's actually a podcasting mic. It has a setting where you can change it to where it records, a small circle around the room to where 4 or 5 people could just be sitting at a table and just talking very calmly, and that'll give you great audio. But it also has a conical feature where it'll, deaden all the sound behind it, and it'll only capture sound in a cone going forward. So, it catches me. But when it does that, it kind of amplifies your voice a lot. So, it's stuff you have to do. Research the microphone. Research the equipment. And all this stuff at some point ends up paying off. And it's not really as hard or think. It just ends up taking a little time and effort.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think and I believe that a lot of listeners will find something useful in all those suggestions, and it will help them to produce more quality content, because that's all that we're aiming for, right? And before you go, any last, and once again, thank you for doing this. It really means a lot, because when I started making this podcast, there were like a select that there are 10 people on this list. I have, with you included, I have already completed 3, 7 more to go. So really appreciate you coming on. And before you go, any last message for all the Plus Ultraman fans listening to this?
Thank you for having me, first of all. For Plus Ultra family members who are listening to the podcast, first of all, thank you for supporting a smaller creator. I'm sure I'll be sharing this video on my community tab whenever it goes up. So I want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank you guys for being so patient with me as a creator. I know I'm super, super slow. I know I kind of end up prioritizing quality over quantity to such a degree that it's almost harmful to my content. And I really appreciate you guys for that. And to anyone who may not be a Plus Ultra fan at the time, or just maybe tuning in for now, thanks for giving me a chance in whatever you might be checking me out from. I know a lot of people are probably just now finding me from the collab with Ronin, as they are finding Ronin. I think that's probably the biggest video on his channel. So I appreciate people having an open mind and saying, this is something he doesn't do all the time, but even the first try he's done at it, that it seemed pretty good. So yeah, I'm just really appreciative and very thankful.
Yeah, all right, man. Thanks. I hope everything goes well for you. And I will let's do it again sometime. And this time let's have Ronin or someone else on. It will be fun.
For sure, that'd be fun.
All right, man. See you later.
See ya.